Okay. So, okay. So, hey guys. My forehead is shiny. That's cool. It is 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, and I am going live about. Oh, let me get my mic. Okay. Okay. So, I am going live about tips for yoga beginners and props for yoga beginners. Now, I wanted to bring this up because I definitely put some coconut oil on my face. But I wanted to bring this up because I know that there are a lot of you who are new to yoga in this group, and you're not really sure where to start or how to safely start as well. I was somebody that just jumped into yoga, but I also had a background in gymnastics and ballet. So I think it was a little bit easier for me to start with yoga. And I'm younger, so my body is a little bit different and more open than some people who are in this group. So I wanted to share with you guys some props and tips for people who are new to yoga so that you can do it safely, because it's all about being safe. And I've seen many people come to my classes with a blanket, trying to do yoga on a blanket, or trying to do yoga on a towel, or just trying to do yoga on the floor itself, like nothing, just the floor. And I really don't allow that. So thank you for whoever gave me a heart. Not sure. Hello, Grand Risings. Good morning to everyone here on the call, and that will be on the call later. And also, I want to say, like, props are not a bad thing. I think a lot of us, we see props as like this taboo thing, and people are like, really against props because they think that it's something that you need when you are disabled or something like that. So that's not really true. That's not true. Actually, props can be helpful for people who are beginner, intermediate, or advanced. When you're advanced, props can help uh, you go deeper into poses. So let's say you can stretch so far, you can place a prop under you to go even further into the pose. So, yep, that's one thing. And yeah, I remember when I had first started going to yoga teacher training, and I didn't want to use any props. I wanted to be that girl in the class that looked like, she didn't need any help. She didn't need any props. And it wasn't really helpful for me. By the end of my yoga teacher training course, I was the prop person. I was the prop girl. My yoga teacher, she's like so into props. And I'm like that now when I teach. When I teach, I love props. I tell people to get all the props that the gym or studio has available because I just love them. And safety is better than trying to look good, but you end up hurting yourself in the long run. So one thing I would say for beginners is to go to a yoga studio. I know that the yoga classes can be expensive, and I know that they have them online on YouTube, but it's different when you go to a class because they're able to adjust you and able to tell you things that online may not tell you, or may not be specific enough online. So you don't really know if you're really doing it well enough unless the teacher online is being very, very specific But I would say have some experience in doing yoga before you start doing it at home, even if it is YouTube. And it could just be a few classes. It could be like one class every week, or I would recommend like a few classes a week, at least 2 a week, just so you can get the feel of how your body is supposed to feel in these poses. Because now that I am a yoga instructor, I can just feel how my body is supposed to feel. I can just feel the alignment. So when I do it at home, I don't have to have somebody tell me, like, make sure your ankle is below your knee when you are lunging. Make sure that your arm is pointed straight back and roll over onto your side or hip. And it's just a different language when you go to yoga class. So getting familiar with that language before doing it at home when you have no support, no one around you, is a great place to be able to start. And put yoga into your budget like anything else. If you're going to be serious about yoga, whether you are doing it at home or you are doing it at a studio, if you're going to be serious about yoga, get the necessary things to make sure that you're doing it safely, because it really can transform your life and transform your body and your mind and your spirit. So the first yoga prop is a mat. And I know that this may be very self-explanatory for you to get a mat, but some people think that they can just do it on a blanket or do it on a towel or just do it on carpet or do it on the floor. Now, the mat provides this sticky quality that is great for your body, your skin. So when you connect with the mat, you're not sliding. If it's a good mat, you're not sliding. Also, do not put any oil on. When I first started doing yoga and stuff, I would like take a shower, get all oiled up or whatever. And I would be slipping and sliding. So it's great for you to be ashy or dry when you are doing yoga, because it helps your body stick to each other. You want that friction. So that's one big thing. So yeah, and then getting the mat. Now mats range from $15 to $200, probably even more than $200. But the most expensive mat I know is about $200. That's one of my traveling mats. That's Lifeform. That's a Lifeform mat, and it is really good. It has the lines on it for alignment purposes. So that's really an investment. And if you're ready to make an investment, then do that. Now, the next prop is, I can start at the more cheaper end, the blocks. These are going to be really essential, even if you are advanced in yoga, because the blocks, they provide an extension of your arms, really. And so if you are in a forward fold, you can place your hands down on the blocks. Now this is the high height, this is the middle height, and this is the low height for your blocks. Now this is really great for your block. It is great to have blocks because your body goes through these changes. So when your body is going through these changes, like really early in the morning, I may need some blocks to put my hands up under it. I may have to only go down to the low height, but I may not all be able to always just touch the floor and place my palms all the way down on the floor early in the morning. That's okay. But I like doing yoga in the morning because it gets me energized and it gets me pumped. So these range from like $7, $7 to $15. Yoga, they don't call them blocks. It's like some stronger name for them, and they're heavy. They're heavy. The cork blocks. So they call them like yoga weights, something like that. Anyways, these ones are a little bit cheaper. And yep, they do the trick. They do the trick. And it's just different things. It provides an extension for your hand if you're in a lunge. If you're doing a lunge, and then you place your blocks down. So instead of having to put your hands all the way down, you can put them up on the blocks. That gives you more leverage. And then when you're doing like a bridge pose or something, you can place the block, or Navasana boat pose, you can place the block in between your knees. So this helps you from like your knees being together or your knees being like too wide out. It helps keep things in alignment when you have a block between you. And also blocks range from thickness. So this is more like the thinner version of the block, and it's one more that's like a quarter a quarter of an inch, I think, thicker than this. So it's a little bit thicker. And I mean, I would say if you feel like, as far as your hips, you can get both. They're pretty inexpensive. You can get the really thick ones or you can get the thin ones. That depends on your flexibility and your body type, which depends on other factors. So those are the blocks. Now the strap is really good. And you can get this for about the same. I think I got these blocks and the strap for about the same price, around, I would say more like $15 to $20 with the strap, or $7 to $20. One of the straps I got, she was selling them. She was selling the blocks for $7 and the straps for $7. So that's where I got my props from. And I had got these blocks in bulk, so I don't remember exactly how cheap they were, but they're on the cheaper end. These two are on the cheaper end. I had these two for a long time. But once again, I had got these props after I was already a yoga instructor. I actually started off being self-taught and didn't go to any classes or anything like that. But once again, like I said, I had a background in gymnastics and ballet, so it was a little different for me. And I would still say, go to a class, because when I went to yoga teacher training, I couldn't believe that I had even survived being self-taught, because, it's dangerous. And there was a lot of things that I did not know that I thought I knew, or I thought I could just get down on the mat and just try something. And I could have hurt myself, but luckily I didn't, but I definitely could have. And I already had some like flexibility in my body. So yes, the strap is for, that's also an extension of your hand and your arms for the strap. So one of the ways the straps can be used is very commonly is in forward fold. So if you're in a seated forward fold position and you can't touch your toes. So if you can't touch your toes, then you're going to take the strap and wrap it around your feet. And you can place your strap in one hand and walk your hand up on the strap to touch your toes, or you can just keep them like this. But make sure, it depends. If you really want to stretch your hamstrings, tip from your hip, not rounding from your spine. So if you round from your spine, you're really going to feel more of the stretch in your spine. If you keep your spine elongated and tip from your hip, you're going to feel more of the stretch from your hamstrings and your low back, because you are sitting on your sit bones. Your sit bones is stationary. Your pelvis is neutral, so your pelvis can't tilt forward and back. Now, I'll explain what the pelvis tipping forward and back and how that has to do with your hamstrings and filling your hamstrings. But if you really want to stretch your hamstrings, do a seated forward fold, not a standing forward fold. A standing forward fold allows you to stretch your hamstrings and your low back, but now your pelvis can tilt. So that looks like standing up and folding forward. But now you can fold more forward. You can come back a little bit because your pelvis is able to tilt more. When you're sitting down, your pelvis isn't able to tilt more forward or tilt more back. So you're really going to feel it from your hamstrings. So if you really want to stretch your hamstrings, do a seated forward fold, not a standing forward fold. And also another way that the strap is commonly used is in Gomukhasana, which is cow's face pose. And that pose is with your legs are stacked, your knees are stacked actually, and you are touching your hands on your back. So I'm going to turn around to show you. This is the arm position. So really we're going to use it for the arm position. Now, some may be able to just grab your fingers. Some may be able to grab more in your palm. And some of you may be able to grab your actual wrist. Now, some people may not be able to do that. And when you're not able to do that, you can use the strap to place it in one of your hands, usually the top hand first, and then dropping it down your back. That way you can grab the strap from any amount. Okay. It wouldn't really be this long. Okay. You can grab the strap from any amount and use it to, do it more safely, because if you're pulling, if it's really your shoulders. So if your shoulders are tight and limited, that's okay. A lot of people that do a lot of like arm, usually men really have a hard time doing this pose because their biceps and their shoulders are so strong and big and bulgy and tight, really, because they're doing reps. So they're like pumping the muscle up, but the muscle is not flexible. So when they try to do this, they usually can only go like right here, usually. But and they may need the strap. You usually put it in your top hand, so they may be like this, and then they're like this. But and this is where the strap is great, because you don't want to overstretch the muscle when it's not ready, because then it's gonna hurt really, really bad. And yeah, it's just gonna hurt. You're gonna overstretch the muscle. So that's another way. That's one of the common ways. So forward folds, and your hamstrings. You do not want to overstretch your hamstrings. So that is why the strap is really important. And it's usually for things like hamstrings, leg poses, extending your legs. You can also do it when you're reclining. This is also a great one for hamstrings and lifting your leg up. Now, usually you would place your big toe, your fingers around your big toe, and extend it up. But if you can't do that, you can use the strap. And then you can go over. This will be extended. You can go over like this, or you can come out like that. And then you have the strap to keep you safe. I'll smack myself in the face. So this is the strap. That's the strap. And it's so many other things that you can do with the blocks and the strap. But it's important to get them. So the mat, the blocks, and the strap is very, very good for beginners. And you can get far with those few things. Now, the blanket. The blanket is something that I did without for a while. But once again, I was a little bit more flexible. And you can use other blankets, but the difference between this blanket, they usually call it a Mexican blanket. So that's how you can find it. But they do have and the Mexican blanket is more like out of wool. So if you are allergic to wool, you can use this. This is more of a cotton one. And really the blanket is more sturdy. It's more of a sturdy blanket. It's not something that's fluffy. And that's why they prefer the yoga blankets and woven like this. So yes, so you can use other blankets, but they're going to be soft and they're going to be squishy, and you kind of don't want that. You want something that's like this, where it's folded, but if you put it under yourself, which I'm going to show you how to do it, it's firm in a way. It's firm in a way. So let's say you fold it one more time. Now you folding it like this. It's firm. Now if you fold like one of my fleece blankets, it's going to squish down and it's not going to provide the support that I need. So that is why these yoga, now the yoga blankets are on the more expensive side. These two props are more on the expensive side. The yoga blanket I think this one was about $40 for a blanket. And it's just, I would say it's more on the expensive side because it's more expensive than these. Even if it's at the more cheaper range of it, it's still about $40. But it's definitely an investment once again. And so now the most important part for the blanket, it's kind of like the block, because some people use blocks to prop it underneath themselves to give themselves more lift. I'll show you what that means. But with the blocks, it's hard. So you want something that's more softer if you're going to put it under your buttocks. So one of the things that people use the blanket for is to place it underneath your pelvis. To place it underneath your pelvis so that, okay, she just said good morning. To place it underneath your pelvis so that you can sit on it. So, okay, for example, some people some of you may experience when you cross your legs, your knees are up here. So when you cross your legs, this may be uncomfortable because your knees may feel like they dangling and your pelvis may feel exposed or like not supported. So it's going to feel like this pulling sensation right up in here in your groin area, because it's like it's so high up and you're like, dang, so some people like hold their knees up because it's like scary. Like if I don't hold them, now they're holding it up with their legs. So you really want to be relaxed And it's scary to relax when this part is not allowing you to just open up and let your legs just dangle there. So usually people will put blocks. You could put blocks. Well, usually it's on the middle height. You could put blocks underneath. Now, when you have those thicker blocks that I talked about, see, these are thin. You see, when I try to do it like this, it's going to fall over. It's usually going to fall over when you try to do it at the high height anyways. But you usually do it at the middle height. This way, you got some blocks to put up under your knees so that your knees don't feel like they're dangling. This one of the ways the blocks can help. Now, you can use the blanket 2 ways in this pose. And this is called Sukhasana, easy pose, a cross-legged position. And you can place the blanket. So let's say you open the blanket up, roll the blanket the long way. So you turn it the hot dog way and you roll it this way. Now you can place the blanket underneath, right up under here. So this gives you some cushion up under your by your ankles, which a lot of people feel because you're going to feel your ankle being pressed into the mat. Now the mat comes in different thickness. You can get a thin one or you can get a thick one. I would say get the more of a thicker version. They range from it's like 0.7 or 4.5 or 3.5 millimeters. That's like a thin one. And the thinnest one is the 3.5 millimeters. Goodness gracious. So that's the thinnest one, and that's why it'll be better to have like a blanket. I'm gonna show you another thing, but this under here provides cushion. Now you can do it this way, or if you fold it, I'm gonna fold it this way. Okay, so if you fold it this way, it provides that you can sit on it with your pelvis, and it provides a little bit of a lift. Now this is not much of a lift, so I'm gonna fold it one more time, and you put your pelvis on it. So therefore, it makes your legs seem like your knees seem lower when really your hips is just higher. It gives off this illusion that you have more openness in your body. So a lot of the times in yoga classes, if they tell you to sit in easy pose or Sukhasana and your knees are like this, grab yourself a blanket, put it right up underneath your hips, right up underneath your sit bones, not your whole body, because now you're back at square one. You want to just put the pelvis, the sit bones on it, so that it's like just a lift in the back. It's like just lifting you up and pulling your front down a little bit. That's the flow of the body. So that is for that one. But also, let's say you do want to get a cheaper mat, because the other thicker mats are more expensive. They go up. So let's say you do want to have a thinner mat. Now, for women that are older and have more fragile knees, which is okay, our body deteriorates as we get older, that's fine. You could put the blanket underneath your knee. And so let's say you are in a lunge. Now you have cushion up underneath your knee because you have the blanket underneath it. Now you can also take your mat, fold your mat, and place your knee down on your mat. But who wants to do that every time? I mean, you can, and some mats don't allow it to be flimsy. Like my other mat, I don't like folding my mat, but it's fine. So that's one of the ways that you can use the blanket. And then when you do Shavasana at the end, corpse pose, some people just like to have the blankets over them. I'm a blanket girl. Like, I love blankets. I love warmth. I love cozy things. So, you may want to I always put the blanket over me, because if I've been doing like a class and I've been sweating and I'm starting to cool down, then, the blanket will keep me a little bit like not so cold. And so, yep, the blanket is a good thing for that. And then pigeon pose, another great thing that the blanket, I already unfolded my blanket. Pigeon pose is a deep hip opener. It looks like this. Now, some people's hips cannot get down to the ground. So it'll be great to put a blanket. Now, it wouldn't be folded like this, but I done already unfolded it. You would put the blanket underneath. So you would do it like that, the square folded, and stick it underneath your hip. So now you have more of support underneath your hip, and your hip isn't dangling, and you can just relax in this pose. So that's one of the big things that it can do as well for the blanket. Now, this one, the bolster. The bolster is also on the side, on the more pricier side, like the blanket. It's about, it can start from 40 to like 100 plus. I think I've seen some like at like 28, but you never usually see a bolster at you never see a bolster at a store. I've never seen it at like a yoga studio. I never actually seen like a yoga store. So, but a yoga studio, because they're bulky, so they take up a lot of space. So usually they're ordered off online, and you have to pay for shipping and taxes. So even if you get it for like $28, you're still going to be more probably like closer on the $30 side. So now, bolsters, they come in different thickness. So this one is more of a softer bolster. Like the fact I have small hands and I'm strong, but for me to be able to squeeze this bolster like this, it's soft. Now I have seen more firmer bolsters, which is great. Now that depends on your flexibility level. I'm fine with the softer bolster. This bolster is actually by Manduka, and so I'm telling you guys, it's a soft bolster, which means that when you decide to lay on it, and it's more of a thinner one. Now this comes in thickness of 5, 6, 7, 8 inches. And so the 8 inches one, of course, is more thicker, which means it gives it more height, which means that when you do something like child's pose, this is a great pose to do. Placing your knees together, your toes together, knees as wide as the hips. Put the bolsters in between your knees and then fold forward. Allow your torso to lie on the bolster. Now, if you don't feel like you have a lot of flexibility in your hips and your low back to fold forward, you can only fold forward here. Now, this is an issue when your bolster is thin and it's not thick. So you can always place a block underneath your bolster, give it more height, but you could just order a thicker bolster. That depends on your flexibility level. So I would say order like an 8-inch bolster. And that way when you fold forward, this is more of a restorative yoga pose. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me, but this is more of a restorative yoga pose and allows you to just lay here. And now this is really great. Bolsters are really great for me when I'm on my cycle, or when we're on our cycle legs. Bless me. So when we're on our cycle. And so it's great to be able to just relax and still be able to get some stretches out. And this allows you to just relax. Now you're stretching your hips, you're stretching your low back, and you may be stretching your shoulders, but you're in a more relaxed position. And then also the bolster helps when you are, sometimes it's good to meditate like this, or to get a slight back bend by allowing you to lay on the bolster and put your arms down. So now you're having a slight heart opening pose and a slight back bend. Now this is a little bit more challenging when you have that thicker bolster, because now you're going to have more of a back bend because the bolster is thicker, and you're going to have more of a heart opening pose when your shoulders come down or when your arms come down, because now the bolster is more thicker. So it just depends. You can get both. You can get a thin bolster or a thick bolster, but I'm just letting you guys know. And there's other things that you can do with the bolster, but I just got the reminder that I've been talking for about 30 minutes. Woo, this time just flew by. So I just love talking about this stuff. So these are the 5 actual props that you can get, or 6 if you want to count the blocks as 2 separate props. But it's the blanket, which is about it can range from 40. It's around like usually average $40. The bolster, it depends. It can range from same 40 to 100 plus. Mats can range from $15 to $200, 100 plus. Blocks and straps usually are about same. Like you can get them for pretty cheap, like $10 a piece. It depends. If you want like a fancier strap or a fancier block, then you can have more expensive, but you really kind of don't need that for a beginner. So, yep, I hope you guys really learned a lot from this, and I'll see you next Wednesday for another live. Have a great day, and good morning, Candace, if she's still on here. All right. See you guys.